blessing to be able to talk in the field that I actually have lived in for over 35 years now. So many of you may know me as the co-founder and director of the Success Women's Conference, creator of Level Up and Power Up Summit. But I have been in healthcare for over 35 plus years. My background is in occupational therapy, and it's Occupational Therapy Month. And my husband and I have co-owned our PR and home care for over 20, well, this is our 25th year in our home care business as well. In that business, we have provided healthcare providers that are caregivers to the elderly, whether it's in their home or facilities. And of course, as you know, during COVID, not as much in the facilities, but more still in the home, and serving our veterans as well. And so from being a part of that, I've worked a lot with many women who are caregivers for their loved ones as well. And because of just because most of them, you can find that they are frustrated and aggravated from the things that they've gone through during this process. I also created caregiver conferences, resource guide. I had a TV show, Unwrinkled Heart, that I did as well. So many of those things I did because I realized that many caregivers live in frustration. They struggle with finding the right information. They feel overwhelmed during the process just getting started. And typically it starts a lot sooner than they're willing to admit. But the whole process in the healthcare system, if you don't already know it, and even if you're in it, like me, it still can be a struggle for a lot of these caregivers. Many of these people are in the sandwich generation, so they're not just providing care to a loved one, they're providing care also to their children as well. Many of them still have children that live at home. And because this process is becoming younger and younger, more people are getting sick younger and younger. So therefore, they're dealing with these issues much sooner. You often hear said, there's a statement that's often said about taking care of yourself. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And this is why caregiver burnout is so real. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. A lot of times we like to think that it's not, and that you're just going through some stuff. But most of the time it's burnout. And recognizing burnout is a way for you to actually heal yourself so you can continue to provide care for your loved one. So what is that? Caregiver burnout simply is just most of the time triggered because you're not doing your own self-care. Burnout is a state of emotional exhaustion that impacts us mentally, physically, and emotionally. So what are some of the things that contribute to that? So here's some of the things that you can consider that is probably contributing to the reason why you're really burned out. Unrealistic expectations. We really simply just can't do everything. You can't be everything to everyone. And a lot of times as women, we try to do that, right? They often call women multitaskers. So we're always thinking, well, I can just get this done, I get that done. And then we get frustrated and aggravated when we can't. And sometimes you just have to realize that you may not be able to provide care for your loved one. It may be beyond you. And so you have to look realistically, can you really do this? And I as a caregiver, being the main caregiver for my mom for many years, and then also still being responsible for her care, I can tell you it's the things that I think and want to do with my own health issues is not always realistic. But yet in my mind, I'm thinking, I really should be doing that. I really should, because we're often thinking they took care of us, they've done for us, and why shouldn't we continue until their last day? And I don't know if y'all know, but being in this business, I have watched many caregivers die well before the person receiving care. So you have to really be realistic about what is expected of you. Role confusion. You can feel frustrated about as being a caregiver, especially when you're a caregiver for a spouse or your child or your parent. So just keeping that in mind and realizing where your role really is. Lack of control, something I was just talking about earlier, just elaborate. Many times we see this because you can't afford the service. Now, I know of many caregivers, probably some even speaking, many caregivers who they quit their job, so their financial income is gone. And they do this because they can't afford to hire a 24-hour caregiver. So they take it upon themselves to become the 24-hour caregiver. And so that can actually be very very frustrating if you're not able to do that. And I often say people shouldn't do that, really. But feeling like you don't have control of the situation, feeling like there's a person, maybe your family member has Alzheimer's and there's no way to stop the process. You know that at some point they're going to need to be in a memory care unit, and there's nothing you can do to control that. You just have to come to acceptance. And sometimes feeling that pressure can cause you to be burnt out. You're sleeping, you're not sleeping, those type of things. And then the caregiver guilt, which all goes hand in hand with this. Many of us as caregiver, whether it's professional or non a professional, a lot of us feel guilty about what we can't do for that loved one, what we can't do for that person who we're taking care of in the hospital. How many times as nurses, you're sitting there and you're thinking, if only, and then you feel guilty about it, but there's nothing you can do. If you're a doctor, sometimes your hand is tied and you can see that this person is not going to make it, or, but you as a caregiver, and all of us are caregivers, see that if I could, how much difference I would make in that person's life. It is not on you to feel guilty about that. The only thing you can do is try to make it the best situation and the best decisions possible. The same thing as a caregiver providing for a loved one. There are just points in the care that you're going to have to make, whether it's deciding to put them on hospice, put them in a nursing home, assisted living, or just getting. Sometimes people feel guilty about just bringing somebody in to help them, but you can't allow that to drain you down, because it does cause burnout and it can put you in a pretty bad situation. So what are some of the signs that you really are already burned out? So anger. You can tell it when many caregivers, they don't even realize the way they're speaking, their tone in their voice sounds very agitated. People come across them and they snap at them, but they're in their mind, I'm, providing care. People should understand. If you're angry all the time, trust me, that loved one realizes that you are frustrated. Even if they have Alzheimer's, they can feel those emotions from you. The second, number two, is insomnia. And these are just some of the ones that I thought were really important and relevant. There are many signs that you are burnout. Insomnia, unless you're like me, because I'm a extreme night person and really don't like to sleep, but should. This can be brought about by extreme stress, unless you, like I said, unless you like me. But many times you find yourself as a caregiver not getting really good sleep. And I can tell you, it will impact your health. And a lot of times, some of the people that are a little younger, you may not see it until it's too late, and you'll find yourself in the hospital. And hopefully, we won't find you in a pine box, because that's, not taking care of yourself can put you in a situation where you're actually gone before the one you're caring for. The feeling of hopelessness, and that's basically just feeling like there's no hope. There's no end. And I find a lot of people feel this too, because of they may be the only person out of the family that's really stepping up and providing care. So a lot of those people feel lonely and feel like they're the only ones, and they feel like nobody else is really concerned. The lack of interest in normal activities. So as a caregiver, many times we start to cut back on all the things we would normally do that brings us pleasure. Something as simple as going to the movie. We give all that up because we're now providing 24-hour care. Trust me, if you're a sibling, they're not missing out. You're missing out. And all of that impacts you, causing the burnout. Exhaustion. Just many times you feel like you just can't get up, that you just can't rise up and get going for the day. That's a sure sign of burnout. It means you're doing too much and you probably need to get some help. Denial. Believe that things will get better. Things are going to improve. Many of us know, as caregivers, at least professionally, that at some point, if a person has Alzheimer's or they have Parkinson, if they have cancer and it's progressing in the last stage, a lot of times we already know that what the end result is. But in our mind, we're gonna, stay, hey, it's gonna get better. They're gonna bounce back. They're gonna start talking. They're gonna start remembering. And instead of planning and making decisions that are gonna impact the final results. A lot of times you find ourselves isolated, feeling alone. That's number 7. Feeling alone and really pulling back from everyone and kind of spending more time alone instead of actually being out and doing our activities and things like that. Those are just 7. There are many other signs that that can be signals of caregiver burnout, but hopefully these are some that can actually help you start to recognize you actually might already be burnt out. So how do you deal with this? First of all, number 1 is self-care. Self-care is top of the list. You have to do that. And many times, the reason why I consider it important is because a lot of times when you put off going to the doctors for yourself because you're running to the appointments for your loved one, whether it's your mom, dad, your child, or whatever, a lot of times your body's giving you signals that you need help, but yet you continue to put it off. It is important that you put the oxygen on your face first so that you can actually provide care for somebody else. Keep that in mind. You can't, I use that statement because if you're on a plane and you're flying and the plane starts to go down, it don't have oxygen, and you go to help everybody else, you don't have the oxygen on you. Guess what? You're going to fall out and you haven't helped anybody. So put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Take care of you, address your healthcare needs, go get a checkup, listen to the doctor, and if you address issues, when you do that, it allows you to address issues such as depression, anxiety, lack of sleep. You may need medicine for that. You just may need it. So take care of yourself first. Get some help. Now, for me, because I'm in the healthcare field and I'm always providing caregivers, it can be as little as 4 hours a week. That gives you a break, that allows you to spend time doing whatever you want, whether it's just sleeping in the bed and not having to worry about the person you're taking care of. Get you some help. And yes, a lot of people ask for help from churches and things like that as well. But invest in yourself. Get somebody, pay somebody to come in and take care of your loved one. And if you hire an agency, at least they're going to try to make sure you have a backup in case somebody doesn't show up as well. Take leave of absence from work. Take a break. If you're still working your job, take a break and spend some time on yourself. Create time to spend with your family. Make sure that they're not getting left aside because you're providing care for a loved one as well. Set up vacation time. Number 5, set up vacation time. Ask another family member to be the lead responsible person while you're on vacation, so you don't have to worry about what's going to happen while you're out of town. And then in addition to that, still have some help coming in the house so that they get a break too while they're visiting. So they'll actually do it again when you want to take another vacation. And then lastly, I always say, spend time in prayer and meditation. Just spend some time alone with God. And you know what? I always say, ask and you shall receive. So ask him. Ask him if you're on the right path, if this is something you should be doing. Sure, we should be taking care of our loved ones. But sometimes it gets beyond that. And sometimes we need somebody to show us it's time to make that final decision. And then also, it just helps you with your sanity as well. So these are some of the things that I have, and I hope it encourages you as a caregiver. Yes, we are called to take care of our loved ones, but we're also called to take care of ourselves. Don't allow your burnout and not recognizing the signs to have you in the hospital as well. So I hope that helps. I'm Kearn Cherry. You can find me on most social medias as Kearn Cherry or Kearn Crockett Cherry. As I said, you can also find my home care business, PRN Home Care, online as well, or you can go to our site, prnhomecareservices.com, prnhomecareservices.com. And if you're looking for me directly, go to kerncherry.com. And so again, hopefully these tips and tools, these tips that I've given you today will help you to make sure that you don't find yourself in a caregiver burnout situation where somebody now has to take over the care for the loved one.
I'm back here clapping. That is just, oh my goodness. I can totally relate. Kearn Crockett Cherry. Thank you so much for presenting this to us. But just to share about the burnout, we all know about it. Everybody feeling some kind of way. Either it's fatigue, I'm just tired, I don't want to be bothered. Whatever it is, we're dealing with it. However, keep God first in it. For some reason, when you got God and you don't feel like you're just overwhelmed and burnt out and fatigued, I'm telling you right now, I don't do anything extra anymore. I have just learned to say what? No. It's okay to say no. And when you say no, just mean it. No, I can't do it. And
exactly.
That's it. Exactly. And no is what? It's a statement.
It's a complete sentence. It's a complete sentence. And I really think as caregivers, we're so busy worrying about everybody else. And I'm talking about not just people that are providing for their loved ones, but professionals as well. We're so busy in that mindset of I'll take care of myself later. And you really are already burned out. right? And
Right.
so it's really critical that you take a moment and take care of yourself. And don't stop going to church, as you said, and
That's right.
spending time with the Lord. You got to incorporate all that. If you can't do that, it means that you probably shouldn't be the only one providing the care.
And that is definitely on that word right there. Don't be the only one providing the care. Let other people help. But you know what? I just want to put this plug in there. We have to learn how to just step back, take a breather, and let someone else take over. If you got other siblings, let them help you. You're not the only child. You're not
Yes,
the only child. Let your siblings help. Just because they don't do it the way you do it, don't mean they cannot do it. But if you
exactly.
always got to take it over, then that's when you're going to feel burnt out, overwhelmed, fatigued. And I don't feel like I got any help. I ain't got nobody helping me. Right?
Yeah, that
So,
control freak thing got to go when you're a caregiver. I'm just saying, if your siblings feel like you're gonna be the only one doing stuff, they just gonna let you do it till
they're
you
going to
drop.
let you do it.
Yep,
So
they
thank
will.
you so much. That was excellent. Thank you so much. We all need the tips. We all need the help. Thank you so much, Kearn, Crockett, Sherry, for sharing your presentation on caregiving. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.